I'll kick things off, Denny. I'm going to go with Kenny Pickett against Houston. And I got to say, I don't love the play. I don't love Pickett against Houston.
Well,
like if you have to play Pickett, I think that like there's another guy that I'm going to be talking about who I like more than Pickett this week. I'll say that. So the reason I don't love Pickett, but I'm still talking about him because it's rough out there just in general when you look at like the percent roster numbers. Houston's actually been below average as an opponent in adjusted fantasy points allowed. They were a tough opponent from an adjusted fantasy points allowed standpoint last year too. Lamar Jackson, QB set 27 against them. I know there was like some weather and stuff, but then they rushed for a lot of their touchdowns, but QB 27 against them. Anthony Richardson was going to have a big day against them, but then he got hurt. That was fine. And then Trevor Lawrence last week. I mean, it's not like there's been, bulldozing going on when these quarterbacks are facing this Texans defense. And, with the Steelers, one of the big things that we should always be concerned about is that front, their offensive line, protecting Kenny Pickett. Fortunately, they're not going to face, literally weeks 1 and 2, they faced the 2 toughest fronts probably in football, where they went San Francisco and then Cleveland, right? That's not going to happen week in and week out. And we saw them be a lot more competent against Vegas this past week. Still not great, but like at least, a competent can move the ball offense. Houston's actually been 5th in the league so far, according to Next Gen Stats, in pressure rate. So they've actually gotten to the quarterback at a decent clip. That's a little bit concerning. Now, pressure rate, it can alter and change from source to source. And, someone might call it a pressure when you have these mobile quarterbacks and they face Lamar Jackson and Anthony Richardson so far this season. So, you might register some of those like scrambles as like pressures or what have you, but those guys were actually just kind of planning on escaping the pocket quicker than what a general pocket passer would be doing. But I do think that it's noteworthy, right? That Houston's been able to get to the quarterback. So I don't feel unreal about Kenny Pickett because of those few things. Now, they do have the 16th best implied team total on the slate. Like I said, they're not going to play Cleveland and San Francisco every week. So I think that it's a better matchup than those. But I just have a hard time going with Pickett past I haven't done my rankings yet, but I can't imagine he's going to be past like mid QB2, low end QB2 range.
Yeah. I actually think we can't glean much off of any matchup against Cleveland because they've been so good defensively. So yeah, it lightens up for sure. All right. Well, look, Derek Carr is out for a while at least, and that means Jameis Winston gets a revenge game, folks, against the Bucs this week. Expected to start. Obviously, the revenge thing is all I need to say. Really, we could just move on, but I will say a few more things. The Saints are actually 13th in pass rate over expected, which is a bit of a surprise considering how they operated last year. I'm pretty sure that that's not just a Derek Carr thing. That probably will keep up with Winston. In relief of Derek Carr last week, Jameis was actually not like old Jameis, like crazy, turnover plagued Jameis. He had no turnover worthy plays on 17 dropbacks last week against Green Bay. He threw for 101 yards on 6.3 adjusted yards per attempt. So a lot of checkdowns, a lot of short throws, which is not something we hate overall. This is not a great matchup, but Tampa Bay is a pass funnel. So we have that going for us, which is nice. I think you could do worse than Jameis.
Yeah, I think so too. The other quarterback that I think is, honestly, maybe you disagree, but I think this is the best quarterback streamer of the week. Maybe you disagree.
Wait,
but it's Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah, look, the numbers say you're right. So there's
it's really hard to not see this as, number one, a good matchup. He gets the Chargers this week. Nice game environment, 47.5 point over under. Mm-hmm. The Chargers have been really bad against wide receivers this year. And obviously that's where Vegas has been funneling their targets. Jacoby Myers and Devontae Adams are basically their whole entire passing offense right now.
Yeah.
And Jimmy G, man, he's been throwing it down the field. He's top 5 so far in the league in air yards per attempt. He's thrown at 15 plus air yards at the second highest rate in football. So I think that combined with the game environment and a potential negative game script for them because they're 6-point underdogs. I like Jimmy G this week from like a streaming perspective. Obviously, I'm not starting him over normal QB1s, but I think I'll have him ranked sort of in that like QB 15 range or so.
Yeah, I mean, Jimmy G continues to be an analytics king, which is disturbing on some level because it's just, when you watch, it's not the best watch. That's what I'll say. And if you put any pressure on this guy, it all falls apart.
We should say that he is in concussion protocol right now. So obviously don't play him if he doesn't go.
Oh, I didn't even know that. Oh,
But I believe he suffered it. Like I think he like played through it against Pittsburgh and then is now in protocol. So there's just stuff to follow and monitor moving forward. That was Dusty threw it out there, and yes, he's correct that Jimmy G's in concussion protocol. So just make sure that you're understanding of that.
Oh, that hit late in the game from Fitzpatrick. Yeah. Minka Fitzpatrick. Yeah. All right. Yeah. So my second quarterback is CJ Stroud, getting back to that Steelers Texans game. So only Kirk Cousins has more dropbacks than CJ Stroud through week 3. The volume, I think, should be there as the Texans are underdogs headed into this game. I think the one thing here that could undercut the volume is that Houston is 20th in pass rate over expected. So it doesn't seem like they really want to like air it out, like let it rip no matter what. It seems like if they get a lead, they'll sit on it a little bit, which is not really what we're looking for. Because Stroud gives you nothing on the ground, but enough through the air. Pittsburgh is a slight pass funnel defense, but also through 3 games, it's really hard to say exactly how a defense is going to be attacked going forward. We have a better idea of that, like at the midway point of the season or around there. But Stroud's fine. I think, if you have him in a deep league and you started him last week, just probably keep going with him.
Yeah. And then index of suspicions referencing Andy Dalton if Bryce Young doesn't go. I think Andy Dalton's a good play too from a streaming perspective if Young doesn't go.
Andy Dalton makes that Panthers offense fantasy viable. So please keep starting Andy Dalton.
Yeah, good environment too against Minnesota. So keep an eye on that. We'll add him to the list if we get more word about the Bryce Young stuff.